Because leading isn't just accomplishing things. People think, yeah, I'm a great leader because I accomplished this and that, and I've done all these things, and that's great. But what I learned in the Marine Corps, true leadership is when your men want to accomplish things. It's not you anymore. It's when their desire is to accomplish what you want.
What's going on, all you Keep the Changers? Welcome to another sold out issue of Keep the Change. Yes, they're all sold out, folks. If you want to come, you got to come early. Today, I get to hang out with a gentleman that I have not known before. I met him for appointments only conference. He works for Flex Dealer. He's got a big role with Michael Cirillo and Flex Dealer. And when I asked Michael for some podcast guests, Michael quickly said, man, you got to talk to Emer. And that resulted in our time together today. So I'm so excited because I get to know him just like you all do. And I get that he's got a great heart. He's a person that is big in his faith. He's a person that's big in leadership, and he's been a Marine in the past. I mean, this guy's the real deal. So ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you at Keep the Change to Emer Sanabria.
That's right, Bart. Hey, thank you. Wow. That's a great introduction, Bart. Thank you. Much appreciated.
Dude, tell me about you. Tell us about you. Let us know who you are. What brings you to this point in your life where you are right now in this moment?
You know, Bart, I say God, right? We sometimes don't know what we do. We take one step at a time. You know, I call it the fog of war, where everything's cloudy. We know where we want to get to, but that step, sometimes we can only see a step or two in front of us. And that's it. We just got to walk with faith and go where we're at and, grow where we're planted. So, started off in the Marine Corps. Never would have imagined that I'd be where I'm at today. Never thought I would join the Marine Corps. Got in a fight with my dad. My friend had joined the Marine Corps, and I'm like, you're an idiot. Why would you ever do that? Then, a week later, I find myself in boot camp, getting yelled at and going through the whole thing. So what have experienced what it was for me, but it led me to believe and know that, sometimes we just got to go with faith. We got to go with our gut, where we're going, and just follow through.
What did you learn in that experience that so many people can't handle? But I'm thinking, as you said that, well, I wanted to get away from my dad. And then you ended up being in front of a 6'7" sergeant that's in your nose, right?
Yes. Probably the biggest lessons I would say that boot camp taught me, the biggest thing is that as stressful as it gets, the yelling, the screaming, the commotion, that we're capable, and as I think of this as leaders, to set the temperature. So regardless of what's happening around, it could be so chaotic at work, with life, with everything, but you as a person have 100% control of setting the temperature of how you handle it. And when your peers and the people that you lead see you set that temperature, they're put at ease. I use this story of, we have a lock that we get to put all of our stuff in this box. Our life is in a box. And they come screaming, and you got to open your lock, and you're going crazy trying to, you pass up the number and you go back left. But you're so nervous until you get to the point that you shut off that noise and you just slow down and you turn that lock, turn it the other way, and turn it back on, and you open it. And that's when you realize that, wait, I've learned to shut off the noise and set the temperature in my life. That's carried me through, for 20 plus years. And when I go places, I look at leaders and say, okay, what temperature are they setting? Are they stressed out? Because if they are, the team gets stressed out.
Yeah, man, so true. I heard somebody say it in the same way, but with different words. We bring the weather.
Yep.
Right?
Yes.
And that's, look, Norman Vincent Peale wrote a book years ago, How to Win Friends and Influence People, right? And that really was all about your attitude creates the altitude of any organization, family, or whatever. And that, man, that's just, it hasn't gone away. that word attitude is the essence of everything we all do. So you became a Marine. Boot camp taught you a lot. How long were you in the Marine Corps?
So 20 years. I spent 20 years in the Marine Corps. I know, Bart.
What?
I don't believe it myself sometimes. I'm like, wow, I can't believe 20 years, really?
Wow.
I mean, I
Wow.
felt so old. By the time I retired, I was like in the Marine Corps. I mean, I'm dealing with 21, 22-year-olds. That's the average age of the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
38 years old and I felt like I was ready to hit the grave, you know?
That Oh man, there's stories there. I did not know that. Thank you for
Oh, yeah.
surprising me. I'm glad we didn't ask that in the pre-call. Oh wait, we didn't have a pre-call. That's right. So talk to me about that journey. I mean, there's nothing like, and you get this, you're in stores all the time, and I want you to share with our listeners what role you play with Flex Dealer and in your business world. But this is more important right now. There's nothing like someone who's been in the military to lead and to be disciplined. So tell me about that journey. What did it do for you? You talked about boot camp, of course, but 20 years. Tell us about the progression of where you were from a punk kid, probably,
Yeah,
which is
absolutely.
why
No,
your dad was mad at
Bart,
you,
yes.
to where you are now. And what was it in that experience that allowed you to keep moving up, to get more self-awareness, to get more emotional intelligence? What was it about that Marine Corps experience? Share with that for the folks that don't have they're not lucky enough to go in the Marine Corps.
Yeah. Bart, I could boil it down to one sentence, and it's know yourself and seek self-improvement. Like
Ooh.
it really is. And knowing yourself is admitting what you don't know and what you lack
Mhm.
and where you need to grow. And that's hard for people. That's hard for people that think like, oh, I'm doing such a great job. And that's great. But where are you deficient? Where can you grow? And where do you need to be in order to take the next step for growth? We're in stores all the time and I see young salespeople and I said, hey, you're a great salesperson. That's awesome. You can sell cars, but where can you improve? And they're like, well, I'm selling, X amount of cars this month. And said, yes, but what's the next step for you? How long do you
Mm,
want to sell cars? What's the next growth for you? It's
yeah.
not selling cars. And that's when that self-awareness of know yourself and seek self-improvement begins to say, okay, where do I want to go next? And what are the things that I need to learn to get there?
How did Marine Corps teach you that? What was the experiences that you went through that you thought, wow? Because it's obviously hard. It's a hard lifestyle. It was a choice, but through that, you kept you stayed in because you were growing,
Yeah.
obviously.
One thing unique about the Marine Corps is called small unit leadership. So from the very beginning, you're always in charge of someone. They say when there's two Marines present, one of them's in charge. And that's so true. So at every small point, whether it's with one person or 20 people, you're always in charge of something. And making you in charge of something is you always are looking to make it better,
Mm,
right? So, because leading isn't just accomplishing things. People think, yeah, I'm a great leader because I accomplished this and that, and I've done all these things, and that's great. But what I learned in the Marine Corps, true leadership is when your men want to accomplish things. It's not you anymore. It's when their desire is to accomplish what you want. And that's that. And it really is. And you find that in war, sadly, sometimes, and I hate to say this, in the art of war, sometimes you got to send men to a place that, they are not coming back. They're not.
mm,
But telling a man or your team or a team that they need to go and do this, and they look at your eyes and say, yes, sir. And in their heart and in your heart, they're going,
mm,
but they don't go with fear, Bart. They go because they know the mission is
mm.
to go and do that.
Yeah. And man, there's so many things. And I tend to get information like this and want to run with it. The 5 levels, Maxwell talks about the 5 levels of leadership.
Yeah.
And I've done boot camps, as you may know, that on Develop the Leader Within You 2.0.
Yeah.
And in that book, he talks about chapter 1 is the 5 levels.
Yes.
And chapter 1 is position. Number 1's position. When you walked into that, or a leader who walks into anything brand new, you're whatever it says on your sleeve. That's the leader. But that
Yep.
doesn't mean you're a leader. That just says that's what it says on your sleeve. And
Yes.
yet, so many leaders, especially if you think automotive, they don't spend time on their leaders, right? Who's training their managers to be leaders? I mean,
Yes.
it's one thing
Yeah.
to know how to desk a deal. It's another thing to know how to look at your ROI and service. But especially in this world of AI, man, we better know people going forward or we're
Yeah.
going to be out. It's the
Bart,
ones that know people that grow. Level 4 is growing people, right?
yes, I love what you just said right now. Who's growing the leader? You're right. So many stores I'll go into, and you have rock stars. That's awesome, but no one's growing them.
Yeah.
No one's taking the time to say, "Hey, a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, where do I want to see that rock star? How is that rock star going to help the organization grow?"
Yeah.
It's like they're living day, but not realizing, guys, the war isn't just today. That war is 3 years from now, and 4 years from now, and 5 years from now. But you hit the nail on the head. Who is growing those leaders?
Yeah.
No one.
Yeah. I do the boot camps, but all managers in the room, right? And phase 2, I say, who in your sales department is ready to be a leader? Well, I don't necessarily want them to go to another role. I like them in their sales role. Great. But leadership could be in any role, right?
Yes.
I'm not teaching them to be a manager. I'm
Yeah.
coaching them how to be a leader. They can be a leader among men and women on the floor, which is what we really need. But what's that mean? Well, and even in that book, I think about it, which just isn't just about that book, but priorities. Does a salesperson need to know priorities? Heck yeah. Does a salespeople know has to know what servant leadership is? Heck yeah. Does a salesperson have to know what personal development is? Heck yeah. That salesperson, if they ever get to the point where they do get promoted, dude, you don't have to go outside and find somebody from outside your culture to bring in. You built a team of people, of maybe 20 people have been through it. Maybe 1 or 2 get promoted, but they all drink from the same fire hose.
Yes.
And that's the blindness I think that so many dealerships get. And I hate that. I don't want to be in one of those podcasts. Oh, they do this wrong or they do that wrong. No, I'm not saying that. But that's the blindness that we get. How about expanding ourselves to grow our people at every level? Why not let a lot boy learn leadership and being part of a leadership boot camp? Another thing you said, which was so good, because I drink the Kool-Aid on this. You and I are a lot alike. No wonder that Cirillo said this. Emotional intelligence is my happy place. And you mentioned self-awareness. And if we know ourselves, then we're going to seek self-improvement. If we don't know ourselves, we're going to be caught up in the river in Egypt called denial. So
you mentioned something that I want to bring up. I don't want to forget about this, which I love it. We're talking about the training piece. I love training. The Marine Corps trains all the time. That's what makes the Marine Corps what it is. Guys, we train every day. It's not just once a week. It's not something you can do once a month. It's daily. Training has to happen daily, what we call sustainment. You want to train so you can sustain, because in combat, what wins war is sustainment, is being able to do it over and over without stop, regardless of what's around you. So one thing you mentioned, which I think is phenomenal, is what I call an unlock. When you do training, I notice that managers and leaders, they're doing so many of these things already. But when they go to a course and they hear the science behind it, they're like, oh my gosh, now what they were somewhat doing has a name, it has a process, and now they could get so much better at doing what they already know what to do. Now it's just what I call it, like a surgeon. Now it's precision. Now it's, now I'm going to fine tune what I was all right at doing, but now I have the science behind it and I get it. It's such an unlock.
Think about some of the stores. You guys have a lot of stores with Flex Dealer that you represent, and we're going to get to that here in a moment. But think about those achieving stores. They all have a common denominator, don't they? They are about precision, whether it's in fixed or variable in marketing or social media, they're about precision. And they're not perfect. None of them are perfect, but success leaves clues. And I heard once upon a time a guy say, every day, every time, without fail, no exception. And what that meant to me is, if you're going to do something and make a commitment to do something, you got to do it every day, every time, without fail, no exception. Yes. And in that is where unconscious competence comes from, where we don't even have to think about it. But I know for me that even I might have unconscious and competent with develop the leader. I've done so many masterminds on that. But if I don't get fresh with it pretty much periodically, that unconscious competence goes away. So I still have to be refreshed with that material, even though I've taught on it for 10 years, right?
Yes. It becomes
So
second nature to you.
it's got to be, but that can still drift. It can still drift. That's why I'm always working on my marriage, because even though today it's amazing, I want to make sure it is 5 years from now. How can we better and better and better?
But you know what
So
I love about what you said, Bart? It's because you got to work on it every day.
every
Training
day,
every
yes,
day. It's every day, every
yeah.
day.
You know, it's fascinating too that everybody, where my life has changed, Emer, is in one-on-one coaching. It
Yeah.
doesn't scale great, but dude, it's the best. It's absolutely the best. Like I've got 30 one-on-ones this week.
Yeah.
I got one coming after you. I had one before you. And guess what? I love it. You know why? Because we get to do what you and I are doing, man. I mean, I have an agenda. I know what their obstacles are mentally. We
Yeah.
have options in place, and we're going to have an action plan before we leave that room. So
Yeah.
we're definitely organized. But the reality is, it is so powerful. And it changes lives. It's just unbelievable. But dealerships and businesses, nobody knows what coaching is. Coaching is more therapy than training, right? It
Yeah. Come in
is.
and tell me what your problems are. It's yeah,
Yeah.
that's therapy.
Yeah. So you've got this incredible career. I got to hear the steps. Did you move up quite a bit? Is that why you kept saying I'm going to stay within in the Marine Corps? What was it that got you to say yes to staying in there for that period of time?
It was opportunity. So one is, seek opportunity. That. So I was on the enlisted side of the Marine Corps,
Yeah.
and opportunity to go to school to get my
Mm.
undergrad. Got 2 masters with the Marine Corps. I mean, so it's been phenomenal. It's there. I would say for those that want success, it doesn't come easy. It takes time. You got to prioritize family, time, business, work, everything. But it's there. It's there for you to take it, but you have to be able to grab it.
Yeah. So tell me about those degrees. I know you have an MSM, you've got an MBA, you're the chief revenue officer for Flex Dealer. Tell me about your degrees. Tell me about what you've learned in that. Your thing that LinkedIn tells us that your thing that you're really powerful with is communication, which is extremely obvious here. But tell us about that. Your path to academic success, leading into business success, leading into developing other people and lifting other people up.
Yeah.
Walk us in
Or
that.
it started like this. So I oversaw businesses that generate revenue for the Marine Corps. That's what I did for the
Wow.
Marine Corps. But
Wow.
my biggest unlock was this, though, and I hate, and it's kind of embarrassing to tell you the story, but I got to tell you because that's what really pushed me to this direction. So it's easy to tell Marines what to do, and it's kind of weird to say that because I could tell a Marine, "I need you to stay right here, and I'll be back tomorrow morning." And Bart, guess what? Tomorrow morning, that Marine would be standing there. But when I
That
started
doesn't
seeing,
happen in the car business.
you know, but when I transitioned to seeing businesses on base that have civilians working them,
Mhm.
I realized that Marines and civilians are 2 different things.
Mm.
And I had a leader tell me, Emer, it's easy to tell Marines what to do because they listen. You're going to find out that leading civilians takes leadership
Mm.
because at any moment they could leave. They don't have to stay there and they don't have to listen to you. Your one goal is to get them to want to listen to you.
How do you do it?
And that's what kind of put me on the path to getting my science management degree, to really understand people and what drives people, right? Because it's not about yelling. Yes, that Marine's awesome and that plays a structure, but true leadership isn't yelling. It's not telling people what to do. It's actually driving people to want to do it for themselves.
Yes. And
Because
how
if
do you
you,
do that?
you know, my biggest thing is lead by example,
Mm.
right? But when I remember working at a location once, and it was dirty outside and I hated it. I didn't like it when people would come in and see dirt by the door. And I think about, dealerships. I walk in and there may be cigarette butts as you walk in and boxes, all that. What I would do, me as a leader, I'd walk into that store and clean it up myself. I wouldn't
Mm.
ask for help. I'd just see the employees and they'd watch me and they're like, what's that guy doing? And I'm sweeping and I'm cleaning it and I'm showing how I want it. Bart, I always was surprised by who came to help me. And those are my leaders. Those are the natural leaders. Those are the ones that get it. They're like, man, I need to be over there. And I would do that. I'd go to every store and do the same thing. But what was amazing is when I would come back and I would see it already done. I didn't even have to ask, but I just showed by example that it's important to me. If the boss could be sweeping, it's important.
Yeah.
Then I could be sweeping. But it's lead by example. So you got to be able to do what you ask and you got to demonstrate.
Yeah. So you mentioned that, and I think of speed of the leader, speed of the pack, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And it's so important for us. We talked about setting the tone for the weather, setting the tone for the culture, setting the tone for, I'm going to do this. And I'm hearing the Marine Corps philosophy, I'm guessing, is follow me, not you go,
Yes.
follow me. And you show that by you getting out there doing it first. I think that's interesting. The thing I was trying to pull out of you, and I think I like your answer better, is that I can get anything I want if I help enough people get what they want.
Oh.
So for me, my whole point starts with, and Gallup says this in the book, It's the Manager. What Gallup says actually is to set your expectations, leader. But I got to tell you, Emer, I think it's as important to find out what their expectations are in that too, or I'm never going to have them help me set our expectations, right?
Bart, I love it. So when I was getting my undergrad, right, I actually put this into play and I used it at work, which I love what you just said, setting the expectations. So at work, one thing that we used to do is, we annual reviews, everyone who doesn't do an annual review. But what I found so interesting was this. So for my undergrad, my capstone, I had the employees do a reversed annual review on their leaders.
That's so good.
So their leaders got evaluated by all the people that they evaluated. So I said, how can a person on your team be operating, below standards and you are getting a great evaluation as a leader? How would you let that happen?
Man, that's so
Bart, it was an unlock. It was an unlock because for the first time, they were held accountable to lead, to meet the expectations of their people they were leading. They had to get to know what those expectations were as a leader, right? It was an awesome unlock. It really was. Those that didn't like it left.
I bet.
They did.
Yeah.
And the ones that really grabbed on, it was awesome. It united that team. It really brought them together because for the first time, they were able to understand as a leader, what are my expectations from you? And then vice versa. Because we always hate as a subordinate, they know I'm going to tell you my expectations, but never had they had the opportunity to say, what are my expectations from you as my leader?
Yeah.
And it was just a big unlock part.
So one day I had John Griffin, who is John Maxwell's, one of his right-hand people. Actually, he runs John Maxwell's foundation.
Oh, wow.
Wonderful dude. Travels all over the world. His wife's name is Antoinette. And John calls me one day, knowing I'm in automotive, and he says, I got something I think is a game changer for you. And he told me about this culture scorecard report that is a 360 assessment. And dude, I studied Marshall Goldsmith. I signed up for him. He was Alan Mullally, CEO. I signed up for his program because he really believes in 360 stakeholders assessments from the people on the other side. This is kind of what you're talking about here, right? You just did it more organically, and you did it without the culture. You didn't have to have the culture scorecard. I needed a tool. So, and I was looking for one. So Griffin's telling me about this thing that a few of them that were Maxwell people had designed. And I got chills, man. I got these goosebumps. That's it. Yes. And what's so powerful in that is that it allows the organization to tell their people, to have their people say, how are my leaders doing, frankly, on 10 different categories. One, communication, teamwork, fun, all that. So development, all that. Great stuff. Now, I decided with my ministry, Emer, that I was going to create one for our ministry. We have 15 people in our Celebrate Recovery.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I got to tell you that I'm pretty good at this, man. Our ministry is rocking. It's tripled in the last 2 months. It's like crazy.
Right. Yeah.
I'm all that. Production was great, but I learned some stuff, man. And I got to tell you, when I first learned it, guess what my first response was? Because I didn't learn it. Guess what my response was as a leader?
Yeah. Denial.
Did I in a river in Egypt, man?
Yeah.
No, that dude never comes. How would he know? I
Yeah.
had to give it 24 hours. I get chills talking about it. I had to give it 24 hours. I stepped back and I said, huh. And see, my wife had told me that. The reason I gave it to my people is because my wife had told me she did that at one of her real estate companies,
Yeah.
and they just didn't want to see it, which is a huge culture problem anyhow.
Yep.
But once I learned to say, okay, what do I have to work on? And I poured into it, it changed my life. From that point, I realized, man, if I've got any skills in selling at all, I've got to let organizational leaders know you've got to hear what your employees are talking about, man.
Have
Because
to.
they're talking about it at the water cooler in the bathroom. They ain't telling, or they're talking about it at the bar about you. If we don't do that, we crash and burn eventually. I know that sounds dramatic, but right? I mean,
So
you know that.
Bart, and then there's this philosophy in the Marine Corps, which I love. This kind of ties to this. They say, when Marines aren't complaining, you better be scared, which means that when they're talking, you know that they're going to talk about, but it's what they don't talk about. And I think about this, when you don't know what they're saying, what their worries are, what they're really thinking, man, that could really cripple an organization really quickly, really quickly.
So I'm doing these with these stores, and it's changing my life, man. I told
Yeah.
you I had 30 coaching calls this week, and that's we do one-on-ones, and then we do a group,
Yes.
and the next week, and it's changed me as a human. It's
Bart,
just
let me jump on that 101. I love that. Bart, I promise you, this is like I call my bread and butter. Going back to the Marine Corps again. So we have what we call monthly counselings. But what you're doing is so important, and I think of the people that are looking for a coach and want to get these things, how vital it is. One-on-one coaching, there's nothing like it. The Marine Corps, regardless of how big your platoon is, how many men you are leading, once a month, you're meeting with each of your men, what we call kneecap to kneecap, just like me and you, kneecap to kneecap, and leading them, mentoring, and getting to know them. And it makes the world of difference, but that little bit, because you get to know that person. And when you get to know that person in their core, they will follow you because that you've built trust. There's no other way. You can't take a course. You can't take a thing. It takes sitting with someone in front of them, kneecap to kneecap, breaking bread, and just talking and getting to know them. It's
dude,
vital.
this is such an ugly time in the world right now, but I am so encouraged by our U.S. military when I hear you speak that way and speak about what's really going on behind the scenes.
Yes,
And
Mark.
that's so powerful, man. That is so good. You got more nuggets than in the California gold rush, man. You are just full of lead, mentor, get to know them, builds trust. That's just awesome stuff. I was going to say sexy, but somebody might like misunderstand. But that is just great stuff. The reverse annual review, lead by example. Oh my gosh, it's so good. So, man, I just have a million questions I want to pop into this. In terms of what you're doing now, which you, as the Chief Revenue Officer with Flex Dealer, give the folks an idea of what Flex Dealer does, what you're doing within that organization, how it's that whole company working with Cirillo. And I know you guys are just so tight, you communicate so well.
Yeah.
How has that influenced who you are as a leader going forward? And how have you been able to influence your clients?
Oh, yeah. And I tell clients this all the time. I'm like, guys, I don't have a background in digital marketing. I own a business in Brazil after retiring from the Marine Corps, came back to the US, and I live in Michael's neighborhood. We became friends, and, I did some training with his executive team. But, Michael asked me to join his team, and I was super hesitant. I knew Michael, but I didn't know him business wise. And I remember one day saying, Michael, my biggest worry is that who you are in person is not who you are in business. And, I spent 20 years in the Marine Corps, and we're a band of brothers. And when I tell you I would die for any of my Marines, I mean that. I can't join an organization that I'm not willing to die for. It's not just who I am. I've been here 3 years, and I love to tell clients, who we are is who we are. What we tell you what we'll do is what we'll do. Are we perfect? No. but we'll tell you who we are and we'll follow through on the things that we tell you. So as an organization, we're a digital marketing agency, like any other digital marketing agency, but we do have our way of doing things. We look at SEO completely different, and how we run ads is completely different. We focus on things that have really made a difference in our clients, the way they're getting opportunities. Now, some dealerships are used to an old way of doing it. They get nervous when we tell them the way we run things. But we see in 90 days of that change, how it makes a change in what opportunities are coming in. So we're not changing anything. We're a digital marketing agency like anything else. What makes it different, Bart, is people. We're people, and we're not here to be the biggest marketing agency. We're here to be a partner, to talk to you, to know what's going on in your business. How are your people doing? How are things translating, boots on the ground? Because to us, the real success isn't how many clients we get, but hey, are you selling more vehicles, and are people wanting to come work for you?
Are they sticking around too, right?
Yep.
They stick around.
Because it is, organizations that have great success have great leaders.
Yeah.
There's a reason why people stay in organizations that way.
Yeah.
They love who they work for.
Yeah. John says, if you're a 3 as a leader from a scale of 1 to 10, you're not going to have an organization any bigger than a 2. You've hit your ceiling.
Yes.
And it's so funny. My brother, very successful, love him with all my heart. He has a money management company, super successful. And he's got a small office. He's had big offices in the past. And he is not necessarily, he's tactically brilliant and relationally wonderful, great heart, incredible father, husband, just a great person. But he's not I can go into a party and move the room, and he's not that guy. But he'll go into a party and people will start standing around him because he's so darn brilliant. And I said to him once, I said, man, I'm just so excited about just pouring leadership into businesses. And he said, what's that mean? And he understood tactically what managing money meant. He's a money manager, but he didn't understand that leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. And I think he does now. I know he does. I mean, again, he's brilliant. So, and from that question was, you have to be really clear with what leadership is, right?
Yeah.
That leadership can happen from every level. That leadership can happen from that lot person. That leadership can happen from a tech. Leadership is influence. Yeah. And I say this every week, so it's one of those eye rollers for my folks, but they don't want to know how much you know until they know how much you care.
Yeah.
And that's what you just pour that. I didn't expect it. I knew when I talked to you and we were sitting next to each other, you had a great heart, but you're a Marine, man. You're a badass. And there's moments when you have to be that in that prior life. But what I see in you is just somebody who cares for people so much, and realize, I mean, you said that a few minutes ago, it's the people. Even though you guys are brilliant at AI and you understand it from so many different levels, you understand that our lives are changing so fast, but it's the people that can influence people that are going to have a future on this planet, right?
Yeah, people.
Yes.
Say this. Michael always says this about me. He says, Emer, there's no strangers in my life. Bart, there isn't. Like, strangers can't be friends.
Yeah.
Oh, so I go anywhere and it's like, there is no strangers, guys. Strangers don't exist. Yeah. Not in my life, because it's always about people.
You have 3 daughters. You've got from what you've told me, just an incredible family. And I believe that just because of who you are as a man. But as somebody's listening here, as we kind of wrap it, I think so many times we can be okay at business, but we're not doing it. You mentioned who you are is who you are. Yes. Love it. And I taught people leadership and they're better at home, right? But and that wasn't even our intention. They decided maybe I've got to work on being a coach at home and ask and listen instead of directing my wife to do this or directing my husband to do that. So what would you say to a man? And I'm gonna say it to a man because we're men in this room right now. A lot of women are listening. They'll appreciate this, that they can do to be a better leader at home. What would your advice be?
Bart, humility.
Oh,
hands down, humility. My wife's mom used to say this to me. And she would just say, Emer, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy?
Wow.
And it used to bother me, Bart. It used to bother me because I'm like, no, I'm not going to give in, because if something's wrong, it's wrong. And I never realized until years later that it had nothing to do with the other person. It had nothing to do with the other person whatsoever. It was what I chose to either, was I going to fight for something that was going to bring friction in my life, or do I want peace and to be happy?
Amen.
It's changed my life, because there's things that, who cares if it's wrong or right? Even if I'm wrong, even if I'm right and she's wrong, I tell myself, I want peace, and say, sweetie, sure. I
What
know
a
you
great,
didn't, because
what
it
a
is.
great,
You have to make a choice, but it boils down to being humility part. Have to
yeah,
have it.
yeah. I love
Like
that word. You come from that place, man. I hope that I do someday. I love
oh
that.
no,
And I believe I do too. When somebody said to me once, you're a humble authority.
oh, I like that.
Isn't that great? And I think that would be you. I mean, you're strong in your presence, but you come from this, again, the servitude heart. So thank you for that. I spent a lot of years in recovery. I've been 40 years sober, that you might know that
Awesome.
story. Wrote a
Yeah.
book on it. I wrote a book on it. What was I thinking? And the book is about the 12 steps of recovery. But through that, I was directed from my source to go
Yeah.
ahead and and take those 12 steps of recovery and make them into a leadership book. And I'm not doing this to plug the book, but I want to go back to what you said. Who you are is who you are. And the first step of recovery is admit. We don't have to admit we're stupid. What we do have to admit is, again, self-awareness. That's true at home and in the workplace.
Yes.
The next one is make a decision. Now, believe. You don't believe in something, you're going to fall for anything. That's
Yes.
at home and in the workplace. Who you are is who you are. The third one is make a decision. We have to make decisions. Are we doing what's right? Do we have values? Are we walking in our values? Can people see whose we are when we're walking? Those
Yeah.
three steps are so big. And
You,
those have to do with leadership and
you,
how to be a
you,
man or a woman in this world.
Bart, you bring up your book, and as you say that, this is what visually comes into my head, is I see you as an arc. Those experiences that you've had to write a book, to be able to be vulnerable, because I'm sure it took vulnerability to share that, and to share that with thousands of people, right? To open up guys, let me open up my closet and have you guys look inside.
Yeah.
A lot of people won't do that, Bart, but
Yeah.
you become an arc
Yeah.
where
Thank you.
instead of animals, people will come to that arc because they need that stability. When that storm comes, they know where to go. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. I just got this call to go to Africa for a week in June, and
Oh,
I get to teach recovery to men and women in Africa on how to recover from drugs and alcohol and life and hurts and habits and hangups. And I'm just so honored to be able to do that for a week, man. That's just a calling from above, and I'm just glad I'm obedient, available for it.
yeah.
One thing that I've heard Maxwell say is, it wasn't Maxwell, it was somebody else. You want to be right or you want to be real?
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
They
Yeah.
want you to be vulnerable. People need to see the vulnerability. Not that it's fake vulnerability. Some people do that nowadays. But I mean, real. They need to see the realness in us so they can feel safe. You mentioned trust many times today. And
Yes.
that's a way to, hey, my leader, I can trust him because he's been broken. He's come to the other side. So if you look back, last thing is we talk about what's an area in your life that you've overcome. This could be a whole podcast, but you've overcome the most that you're so proud of yourself for, or you're just grateful for. Maybe that's a better way to ask it.
Yeah. PTSD, Bart. That was it was a demon that just follows you, and 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 not just military. I think we all will deal with it. Anything that is just hard in our lives,
Yeah.
but we can overcome it. And that's been, I overcame a lot of stuff in the Marine Corps, physically, mentally. This was a challenge. This was probably one of the hardest things I ever dealt with. And I was surprised that I was dealing with it, and it was an eye opener to me to be like, oh my gosh, like, why am I having these feelings? Why, what am I going through? And then going back to our source, and saying, I cannot do this alone. I can't. I've tried. I've done it. And it's, if I could put words into what I was feeling in my heart, it's you've tried everything. Now will you come to me?
Yeah.
So I could heal you. Like,
Yeah.
you've tried everything else. Come to me. Like, can you try me now? What a life-changing experience that was, Bart.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so good. My knees have blisters.
I like that. I
Because
like
I had
it.
to get on my knees every day, every time, without fail, no exception. Still do today.
Yeah.
And I would love to, and thank you again for your vulnerability with that. I think it's really clear. I was going to say, can you go deeper on how you got to that place? But what I heard you say is let go and let him. And in
Yeah.
that, I think that really shows, and again, who you are. I don't ever use the word I'm proud of anymore, but I do use Amazing Grace.
Oh, I
And
love that song, Bart. I love that song. Yes.
yeah, we are in grace. We are in grace, you and I.
I love how you said I have to, how you said let go, right? I love this. You think of, the story in the Bible. I got to bring it up where, two men and one man says, hey, you choose where you want to go. You choose the left or the right, and I'll go opposite to where you want to go. I don't know if you recognize that story, right? And one person chose the land that was awesome and it was like green and there was water and everything else. And then I thought about, why would they choose that? Why would the other person let them choose the other person first? And they weren't even worried about it. Is because the person knew who ultimately was going to help him.
Yep.
He had let go a long time ago. So it didn't matter whether the guy chose left or right.
Yeah.
He knew, like, wherever I go, I will let go and know that you can handle it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, listen to this. This is a man who's seen it all. It's 20 years in the Marine Corps. And he gets that none of it would happen if it wasn't for a source of power greater than ourselves that could restore us to peace and to sanity. So, brother, I appreciate you so much. Appreciate your heart. Appreciate your wisdom. This, I say this a lot, but I really mean it every time I say it. Dude, we got to do this again.
Yes.
People need to
Tell
hear
me
your
when.
story. Now that we've broken the bread and we know each other, I love how we vibe with each other. I love having a cup of coffee with you. And thank you so much for literally, I am having coffee. You might not be. I'm having water and coffee, but literally, I appreciate us being together and I appreciate us sharing our stories a little bit together. God bless you. Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you, sir.
Emer, if people want to get a hold of you, how do they do it, friend? Because I'm sure people want to pick up the phone and say, tell me about Flex Dealer and tell me about you. How do they do it?
So it's Emer at flexdealer.com. Best way to get a hold of me.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. And LinkedIn, you're on LinkedIn too. And
then under Emer Sanabria.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you. God bless you. Appreciate you. And look forward to doing this again, my friend. Hey, share that. This is one that has to be shared. So many nuggets, so many unlocks, and we certainly appreciate all of that wisdom. We'll talk to you guys next time on Keep the Change. Share it, subscribe. We'll see you soon.